Sri Lanka in turmoil, chaos, massive inflation, no food, no fuel. Why? Why did it happen? Does it have any bearing on what's going on in our countries? Let's find out.
Goda, Valana, Goda. One Dana Vecti.
Thus the president fleeing. Hey! September 23rd, 2021. President at the Food System Summit, that's right, the United Nations Food System Summit, he announces that he is going to institute a ban on chemical fertilizers. That ban lasts 7 months, which leads to massive inflation, huge food insecurity, and of course the fact that they no longer have foreign reserves as they're importing in food, and thus the country suffers, the people suffer, and thus the protests. So let's explore.
Restrict imports of food. Adverse health and environmental impacts. My government took the bold step to restrict imports of these harmful substances earlier this year. However, changing the mindset of farmers long accustomed to using chemical fertilizer has proven challenging. So too has the production of sufficient quantity of organic fertilizer domestically.
Okay, so they want to restrict chemical fertilizer, import of chemical fertilizer, and produce organic fertilizer domestically. Well, that turns to be disastrous. That turns to be completely disastrous for the people of Sri Lanka. This right over here is from the Permanent Mission of Sri Lanka to the United Nations. This is the transcript. This is the interesting part. It echoes Klaus Schwab where he talks about stakeholder capitalism. Pay attention to the transcript, these two specific lines. The pandemic has exposed weaknesses in global food systems that will only be worsened with climate change. It is therefore essential that all stakeholders work together to transform global food systems to be more sustainable, resilient, and inclusive. Sustainable food systems are part of Sri Lanka's rich sociocultural and economic heritage. Our more recent past, however, saw increasing use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and weedicides that led to adverse health and environmental impacts. My government took the bold step to restrict imports of these harmful substances earlier this year. Stakeholder capitalism. It is therefore essential that all stakeholders work together to transform global food systems to be more sustainable, resilient, and inclusive. To add insult to injury, Sri Lanka also decides that they're going to push for more renewable energy, which only compounds the problem. After 7 months, Sri Lanka decides, the PM, the president. In Sri Lanka, there is a prime minister as well as a president. President sits at the top of the pyramid. Sri Lanka rose back on chemical fertilizer ban, but yields may not rebound. 7-month ban has costs. Agriculture does not rebound. People are hungry. Interestingly enough, Sri Lanka has a near-perfect ESG score, sitting at 98.1 on the emissions index. So interesting, if you scroll down all the way down, who has a low ESG score? United States, Russia, China, also very strong countries. India as well, another strong country, up and coming. After they can't pay for food, what do? They turn to China. Sri Lanka seeks rice bailout from China after fertilizer ban. Interesting, isn't it? You can't make your own food anymore. You got to start buying it from other people, which now depletes your foreign exchange. From The Economist, a rush to farm organically has plunged Sri Lanka's economy into crisis. Inflation is hovering near 6%, and food prices are up more than 11%. Rising global commodity prices, declining foreign reserves. Let's look at Sri Lanka Consumer Price Index inflation. Interesting. Look at this graph. You can see it right here, September 21st. Okay, so this is the timeline over here. April 21st, fertilizer ban comes in. It starts to climb, inflation all the way up to the top. Wow, that's incredible. We're sitting at 50, 40, 50%, depending on which one of these numbers you look at, NCPI or CCPI. Here we come to the end of our tale, a population pushed to desperation amid rising inflation, economic crisis, massive problems obtaining food, fuel, and just the basic necessities of life. Well, could it happen here? Could it happen in Canada? You tell me. Take a look at the inflation. Could it happen in the U.S., in all our Western nations, in other nations? Could it happen in India? I want to know. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for your time. Hail, brethren. H for honor, A for accountability, I for integrity, and L for loyalty. Hail freedom. all across the globe. Hail, brethren. But he's trying his best. He's trying his hardest. That's right. Yeah, you can do it, brother. You can do it, man.